housekeeping. As far as what we're going to cover today, the agenda, we have a look first at shopping ad structure. Then we're going to take a look at building out that structure using the shopping campaign builder, and then how to keep that structure in sync with what's in your merchant feed through the shopping campaign refresher. And then once you have that perfect structure built out, I'm going to show you how you can do shopping bid management. Now in Optmyzr today, there's actually a number of ways that you can manage shopping bids, and I'll cover all of those. So I'll cover the rule engine, I'll cover the classic shopping bidder, the shopping attribute bidder, and time permitting, I'm also going to show you some of the geo bid modification tools, which are not really specific to just shopping ads, but they can certainly help there as well because you might have geographic differences in performance. So that is what we're going to cover. So I'm going to switch into the next presentation that I've got for you here, and we'll present that on the screen. Right, and then while I start the presentation here, I would actually love it if people maybe use the question box to tell me what kind of business they're running, whether you're an agency, an in-house team, how much you do e-commerce ads, if there's any specific product that you're selling. The more that I can make these examples true to what you do, the better, of course. So if you want to share that, please do so through the questions box. But where I wanted to start before really delving into the tools that Optmyzr has is maybe explain a little bit what I think is the right structure for a shopping campaign. So when it comes to shopping campaigns, obviously there are campaigns in AdWords. So where I would usually start is have a couple of high priority campaigns. And I'm sure you're familiar with this, but in AdWords, shopping campaigns, unlike traditional campaigns, actually have this setting called priority. And what it does is it gives Google an indication if there's duplicate products across different campaigns, which campaign you would like to prioritize. So what I would typically do is have a campaign that's set to high priority for my sales, maybe one for my new arrivals, and another one for my other priority items. Right? So you could have one, you could have multiple, but at least have some high priority campaigns, usually to push the products that you most want to sell at this point. And then you have your standard campaign. So these are going to be set to a medium priority, and this is where you have most of your products split out based on product lines. So the goal here is to cover every single product that you want to promote through a shopping ad through different campaigns. And so the reason that I showed that each of these campaigns is broken out by product line, so product line 1 has its own campaign and product line 2 has its own campaign, that's because campaigns do have a couple of interesting settings. Campaigns can have certain bid adjustments, campaigns can have budgets. So, you know, maybe if you want to spend more money promoting product line 1, then you want to have a campaign so that you can dedicate more budget to that one. Sorry, just looking at the questions right there. Had a question on some people who have to drop off, but no problem on that. We'll send you the recording after this is done. So anyway, these are the campaigns. And then there's also a lowest priority campaign that I would typically put in. And this one, I wouldn't spend a lot of time dividing and segmenting the products, but I would set it to low priority, maybe have a pretty conservative bid. And it's basically going to be my catch-all campaign for anything that I'm not specifically targeting through one of the higher priority campaigns. So that's your campaigns. Now, in Optmyzr, we cannot build campaigns for you, and that's kind of an API restriction that Google has for us. So at the very least, you're going to have to set up some shell campaigns, and then we will be able to help you populate those. And when I say shell campaign, it really just means you make a campaign that's a shopping campaign, you associate the right product feed to it, you set the right priority, you set the right budget, and then you can leave it empty as far as ad groups and product groups, because that's the part that we will help you do, but you at least have to have those shells ready to go. So now let's take a look at one of the individual campaigns. So here we've got the campaign for product line 1. So a lot of people, when they go and build shopping ads, they only put one ad group into a campaign. And that's fine. It's not necessarily bad, but do keep in mind that you can have ad groups for shopping ads. And each ad group has things like negative keywords that you can run for each of them. And then you can do like audience level bid adjustments. You can do device bid adjustments, so you can have different bids running for mobile devices and desktop devices. And so if you think that certain subsets of products may have a different performance for a different audience or on a different device, or might have different negative keywords, well, then it makes sense to split that out into at least a couple of the ad groups. It just gives you one new level of control. So an example of what that might look like if you're selling shoes, well, you might have a campaign for shoes, and then at the very least, maybe you have different ad groups, one for sneakers, one for sandals, one for heels. Okay, so now you got your ad groups. Let's go one level deeper. So now within the ad group, you're going to want to set up some product groups. Now, what I've marked here on the right in the orange boxes, these are the biddable product groups. Now, you can see that there's multiple levels of division. So you start with a product group, which basically has, in this case, it might be all of your sneakers. So let me open up the example here. So the ad group has all of the sneakers. And then you'd subdivide your sneakers into smaller product groups. And a product group is basically a segment of products. So you might have your sneakers that are training sneakers, and a different segment that's running sneakers. Each of these becomes a product group. But all of these product groups at the intermediate level, they are not biddable. They are just kind of there for structure, and they will help you better understand reporting. They'll make it easier to look in AdWords and see, okay, how are my training sneakers performing versus my running sneakers? But you can't really act on that data very much because all of the bids can only be set at that lowest level. And so here's the key thing. At Optmyzr, we really think your biddable product group, your lowest level product group, should have exactly one product in it. So you should not have a group with all of your training sneakers, but you should have each individual sneaker, even each individual size, each individual color, one item ID per biddable product group. And let me explain why we believe that that's the case, and this is going to kind of explain our bid management philosophy. And of course, I'll show you how all of these things, all of these concepts I'm talking about, you can do very easily and quickly and efficiently through the tools that we've built. But basically, here's what we call the GRIP structure. GRIP stands for Groups of Individual Products. Many of you are probably familiar with the concept of SKAG, Single Keyword Ad Group. So when you're doing keyword targeting, some people like to put one keyword per ad group because it really drives home the highest relevance and it gives you the most control over all aspects of bid management. So a similar structure applied to shopping ads is called the GRIP structure, Groups of Individual Products. So look here how I've got 4 different sneakers and I've put them each into their own biddable product group, so at the lowest level. And why is this important? Well, this is important because I might want to do some interesting things like manage the bids. Okay, so maybe I'm asking myself the question, what size shoe sells best? Well, through Optmyzr, you can ask that question using the shopping attribute bidder. So Optmyzr will give you this sort of an output, and it will say, well, you have 11, or there's 22 product groups that are for a size 11.5 product, and for those you got 59 clicks, the cost was $72, and your conversion value divided by cost, basically your return on ad spend, was 1,361%. So that seems pretty profitable, whereas size 10 shoes, well, you spent a little bit of money as well, but you didn't get any conversions. So maybe we should increase the bids for size 11.5 shoes. So that's a cool insight, and Optmyzr will help you get that insight, but you also want to act on that. Okay, so if you have this GRIP structure set up, it enables you to do that level of action. So here what we've done now is we said, well, let's look for all the shoes that are size 10. Again, it happens to be 2 of them. So for these, we can raise the bids or lower the bids based on what we just saw. Now, the next day, maybe you say, hey, we should really think about, does the color of the shoe make any difference? Oh, okay, so well, now we run that same analysis through Optmyzr and we find out that red shoes sell really, really well for some reason. So now we can say, okay, for red shoes, let's increase the bids for those. And you can see that that's now different from what we did the day before, but you're fully able to take action on this new insight. And then maybe next week, you ask the question, do different brands of shoes sell better? Okay, and again, we actually can find the grouping of all the individual items that happen to be Nike shoes, and we can act on it. Now, if you had a more traditional structure where you were not grouping every item into its own product group, so you didn't have the GRIP structure, well, boom, now all of these shoes happen to be sneakers, but you can't really do anything with it because all the bids for all these 4 products are the same. So if one day I find out that Nike shoes sell better than Adidas shoes, I can't do anything with that. I'm stuck. I can only change the bid for that whole group of all 4 products, and so it doesn't let me act at a granular level. So that's why we recommend the GRIP structure. So now let me jump into some of the Optmyzr tools, and I'll show you how you can put all of this into practice. So let me actually reduce the size of the screen that I'm sharing. So give me 1 second here. There we go. So this is the Optmyzr interface now. So the first tool that I've gone in here is under one-click optimizations for shopping campaigns. I've gone into the shopping campaign builder. So the point of the builder is to help you with that perfect structure. So what you do in this tool is you select a campaign that you're going to fill out. Now you have to have your merchant feed connected to Optmyzr. And if you haven't done that already, there's a link right there. It's a simple authorization. So you just put in your username to access the merchant feed, and then you'll put in the ID of the product feed, and then we'll connect it, we'll download it, and a few seconds later you can start using it. So what we're doing here is we're saying we're going to fill one of these shell campaigns that we built with good ad groups and good product group structure. Now, in the example that I was giving, we were looking at shoes and then sneakers and then subtypes of sneakers like trainers and running shoes. So basically, we were doing a division of a couple of levels of category. And with Optmyzr, it's very easy. So you just take the elements that AdWords allows you to use for structuring, and you build out the list of how you want to do the grouping. So I can go several levels of categorization deep, and then I could say at some level, then I want to split it out by brand. And then, of course, you want to do it by item ID, because that's going to give you the grip structure. So now if I did this inside of this campaign, I would be building a single ad group. But remember, like I said, you do get some benefit from having multiple ad groups. So all of you in the tool, you will have the option to make an ad group at the first level of division. So each category level 0 is going to get its own ad group. Now, if you want it, you can ask us for it. So you can email support, and we can actually go 4 levels deep. So we could make ad groups all the way down to the brand level in this case. The reason that you don't necessarily want to go that deep is it's going to create thousands of ad groups, and that may be a little bit more than you're willing to manage. So let me do an example here where we're just going to stay at that first level. So with the tool now, I hit preview, and now it's fetching the merchant feed, and it's saying, okay, well, based on what's in the merchant feed, this is the structure we're going to build out. So these first 4 levels, these are ad groups. So notice it says we're going to build 4 ad groups. And then below each of these ad groups, we're going to build a total of 6,629 product groups. So that means we have 6,600 products in our product feed. So great, but we've actually added a bit of structure to this. So under apparel and accessories, we have a subcategory of clothing. Under clothing, we have a subcategory of shirts and tops. Under that, we have a number of brands. And then underneath each of these brands, we have individual product IDs. So that's a very detailed structure that we can build here. Now we can even do things like we can say we know Bella and Canvas. That's a really that's a brand that sells really well. So maybe we want to have a bit of a higher bid for this one. So notice I just double-clicked on that bid, and that allowed me to change it. Now Optmyzr is smart, so we remember that you've actually changed the bid here on Bella and Canvas. So then if you later on come in here and you say, well, for T-shirts in general, we also want to bid a bit more. It doesn't actually override this bid, so it remembers you had specifically set this one, so it only changes the ones that were not already edited. So you can see how all of these below this category now have a 25-cent bid. So once you're happy with this, you can go ahead and click the button here to create product groups inside of AdWords. If you don't like running on everything else, there's also a button here that will exclude all of those for you. So now notice we've unchecked every instance of everything else. So that's going to make sure that we're only advertising for the things that are specifically in the feed today. And again, with that, click on the button right there. We're actually going to go and build out the 6,600 new product groups. So that's the builder. If there's any questions on this, please go and ask them now, because I will move on now to the shopping campaign refresher. All right. So the shopping campaign refresher looks like this. So the one-click optimization, shopping campaigns. I am showing you the shopping campaign refresher pro, which will refresh an entire campaign at once. If you're on the regular plan, you will have the regular shopping campaign refresher, which does 1 ad group at a time. If you're currently on regular but you want to try out the pro version, you can just email us and we'll be happy to give you a 30-day trial of that, no cost, so that you can see these new tools. But what you do in the shopping refresher is you select which campaign you want to review. Here we do recommend that you go and resync your merchant feed. So you don't have to do the connection again, you don't have to authorize. You just have to click a button that says go and fetch the latest data that's currently in the Merchant Center feed. Now for the sake of this demo, I'm not doing that because that would actually bring stuff in sync and I wouldn't have mismatches anymore. But so we do recommend that you hit that link and resync merchant feed button before you go through this tool. So after you select a campaign, the tool will run through that campaign. It will look at all of the different ad groups, and it's finding mismatches between what data exists in the Merchant Center feed and what structure you've built in AdWords. Now let me give you a simple example. Notice on the last screen when I was doing the building, I had one level of division by brand. Well, if a merchant all of a sudden starts selling a new brand, we didn't make a product group for that yet. We don't have an ad group for it. So that new brand is going to be covered by the catch-all campaign with low priority that's covering all products. So obviously because it shows up in the product feed, it's going to be covered by Google, but you're not going to have structurally put it into a certain place that has a good relevant bid, good geo bid modifications. It's missing all those things. So it is pretty important to periodically come back and say, sync my merchant feed to my AdWords account. And so what we've done in this situation here is we're saying, well, it looks like we should be building 2 new ad groups. These are denoted with an asterisk. So it says here the asterisk says we're going to be making new ad groups for this. So within these ad groups, if we want to understand what are the product groups that we're going to make, you can click on these. And so by expanding this all the way, you can see it's basically mimicking the structure that we had that defined before. So category 0, category 1, and then going down to brand. So when we actually did the build out of this, that's the structure we were following. And so this tool picks up on how you like to structure things. It finds things in the merchant feed that should have had a place in your account build. And so it keeps your account build always in sync with how you like to structure things. So this is a really valuable tool to use. It's also nice because your client, your merchandising team, doesn't really know how you built your AdWords structure. So they may not understand that you really care that a new brand is being sold. Well, this is a way for you to not have to talk to them about that because this tool will automatically pick up on it. Now, if there's anything that's no longer in the feed, so maybe some products you're no longer selling, we'll pick up on that too. We'll give you the option to remove those. By default, we do not remove them because there's nothing really wrong with keeping them inside of the structure. You're not going to show ads for it, and maybe if you ever sell them again, then the structure will still exist. But so primarily what we try to do here is make sure that any new products you have fit in the right place inside of AdWords. So let's see, we have a question. So Vincent is asking, can you only add new ad groups if you have Refresher Pro? No, Vincent. So I believe the Refresher Classic will also do the new ad group building components. And actually, no, let me backtrack on that because you have to do it one ad group at a time. So in that case, it will not pick up on that. So Vincent, maybe reach out to the support team and we can see if we can get you on that, the Pro plan, so you can see how that works and see if there's a good benefit in that for you. So anyway, that's the Shopping Refresher Pro. Let me jump into the bid management now. So here I've already loaded up an account in the Shopping Bidder. And so like I said, we have a couple of bidding methodologies. The first I'm going to show you is the classic Shopping Bidder. This is in everybody's plan. So by default, this tool is going to load up with positive return on ad spend product groups. Keep in mind, these are the biddable product groups. So these are going to be your lowest level of product grouping. It tells you what is the product group, what is the data behind it, and then what is your current bid and what's your new bid. So you could come in here, you can type on that to set a new bid, or if you figure these are all positive return on ad spend, I can automatically increase all of these bids by some percentage. So it calculates it out. And then if you're happy with this, you can click that button to apply the changes, or you can download it to upload it manually through editor or bulk uploads if you wish to do that. Now, not everybody's actually profitable at 100%. So like all of our one-click optimizations, we do have custom filters. So you can come in here and you can say, find me anything that has a conversion value over cost of at least 501. so 500% and more. I could save that for my whole team, just for myself. In this case, I'm just going to apply that filter, close this out. And now we can see these are the really profitable conversion value over cost items. If you don't have that column turned on, remember you have the column picker right there, and we'll remember the settings of what you had chosen the last time. Okay, so now we have 40 product groups with really good return on ad spend where we could increase the bids. But let's take a look at everything. So let's also include things where we don't necessarily make a profit. So I'm changing my optimization strategy to everything. And now it's interesting because you can see some of these items on the list have very little data. Okay, so there's no clicks, there's no impressions. Hopefully we'll find some that do have clicks and impressions in this structure here. But what I wanted to show you was an advanced setting for a roll-up. And so what a roll-up allows you to do is say, make sure that everything that I'm looking at has at least 100 clicks. And if it doesn't have 100 clicks, go up one level in the structure to try to get to 100 clicks. And if we look at the slide here that I had for a second, so basically what we're doing is these orange divisions, these are product groups where you can set a bid. Each of these may not have enough data, so we jump up one level to the left, and we see, do we have 100 data points at this level? And if we still don't, we jump another level to the left. And so the benefit here is that we're actually able to find things that have something in common. Now we've kind of obscured what the actual product groupings are, so these are kind of funny, but so there are apparently 3 jackets in the color hot pink. Okay, each of these individual jackets didn't have enough data, but if we say that they are jackets and they are hot pink, okay, well then we have 1,154 clicks. So now we have kind of an understanding that the ROAS on this is 303%, so we might want to make a small bid increase. Now the bid range of this is currently between 37 cents and 50 cents, so to be able to do the bidding, we'll click one more time on here, and now we show you the groupings with each of the individual bids, and now we can change this manually, or once again, use this bid increase or decrease to change it in bulk across all 2,100 things on the screen. So, and then one level up, so there's 87 product groups that didn't have enough data. They weren't necessarily jackets, they might have been other hot pink products, but now we have 1,266 data points, and in general, these have a pretty good ROAS, so we might want to make a bigger bid increase for those. So that's how the roll-up works. So it's a very nice and effective way to use very specific data when you have enough data, but also kind of look higher up in the hierarchy when the data is a little bit more sparse and still let you make some pretty good decisions as far as bids go. So that is the traditional shopping bidder. See if anyone has questions on this. Yeah, there are a few questions, so let me take a quick look at these. There was actually a question about the shopping refresher. So will that pick up on price changes? So that's a good question. So yes, the shopping refresher, the merchant feed obviously includes price changes, but price is usually, I think, not something you would use in the structure. So let's take a look here. So price is not something that Google lets you structure things by. Now, what some merchants do is they use the custom attribute fields to allocate each of the products to a price bucket. So items between $0 and $25, that might be one custom attribute. Then items between $25 and $100. And so that way you can actually use your price to do the structuring. So you can have one group, product group for really expensive products and one for the much cheaper products. Other people use this to put in margin value. So as opposed to the price of the products, what is the margin rate? So is it a 10% margin product or is it a 50% margin product? Now, as far as the Shopping Refresher Pro, so if you were using a custom attribute with that price data, that we would pick up on. So we would recommend new ad groups and new product groups. As far as the price itself, obviously the merchant feed, that is what Google is using. So as the prices and the inventory changes, the ads are automatically going to reflect that. That is not something that you have to worry about. But if you want to set different bids for expensive products and less expensive products, that's why you need the shopping campaign refresher so that things stay in the right place. And then there's a question about, is there any way to sync analytics data into Optmyzr? So yeah, we do have analytics data that you can bring in for reporting. You can also use it in the rule engine, which I can show you in just a second here. But the best thing typically to do is if you use analytics to track e-commerce sales, is to connect those two systems together so that that data actually flows into AdWords, because it'll give you more capabilities to do some of the bid management. So unless you're really opposed to sharing that data through AdWords, I highly recommend that you do set up that connection. And then the question is, how does the shopping bidder work if you use ROAS target bidding in Google AdWords? So that's a good question. So these bidding systems that we have, they are manual bidding. So you can do enhanced CPC or maximum CPC, but if you're already using one of Google's flexible bid strategies, then you wouldn't necessarily have to use this. Now, we still see people coming to this to kind of figure out if Google's doing the right thing with their automated bid management, but you couldn't actually change bids. And let me illustrate that a little bit more with the next tool, which I want to show you, which is the rule engine. So the rule engine is not specific to just shopping. This can actually set bids for a number of things. So let me show you how it works. So the rule engine lives right here. It's also a pro plan feature, but again, we're happy to give you access if you want to test that out. So if you've never used the rule engine, you're going to come to a page of instant recipes to get you started. Okay, so the rule engine, the point is to help you automate some of the logic that you probably already want to go through in Excel or some spreadsheet program. Okay, so we have some rules around target return on ad spend. So these would be, again, mutually exclusive from using flexible bid strategies in AdWords. But if you wanted to bid to a return on ad spend target, but you wanted more control over what the rules did, this is where you would come. And then if you said, well, we want to do product group bidding, so we look for product groups here. We've got static look back window, but I kind of like the dynamic look back window. So we could select this pre-built recipe, and then we could come in here and we could say, okay, we want to hit a 200% return on ad spend, so that's denoted as a 2 in this case. We only trust the conversion data if we have at least 3 conversions. We never want to bid less than 10 cents, and we never want to bid more than $10. So we put in some basic settings, which of course you can come back later and change very easily. But then here you go. This is the bidding logic that we would go through. So it says for every product group in this account, we're going to start at the top and we're going to see if this condition is met. So does this product group over the last 7 days for all devices have at least 3 conversions? If so, then we're going to use the conversion value and click data from the last 7 days along with your target return on ad spend to calculate the perfect CPC bid. If we don't have enough data at 7 days, we're going to go back further in time to 14 days, to 30 days, and keep doing that until we get to 90 days. Now, this is just an example that we've built. So if you want to go even further back, you can just click duplicate. And then once you've duplicated it, you can go into edit and you can change all the settings. So you can come in here, tweak this. So click on conversions, and now you can make this look back all the way to 240 days, for example, and then save that. You could also do things like look at what is the search impression share, what are some of the other conditions that we have, some of the other metrics. So you can really hone in and customize this. And that's kind of the benefit of the rule engine, is that you're not just relying on Google's methodology, but you're actually taking your own understanding of the business to hopefully do something a little smarter. Can also be really good to validate that the rules are running as they should if you give it if you give that control to Google. So once you've got one of these rules built out, you want to preview it. So preview the suggestions. I've already preloaded some of these suggestions. And here we did a target CPA rule. And so what you can see, that there's a lot of data on the screen, but the reason we give you a lot of data is because we want to get you really comfortable with why these bid decisions were made. So we can see that for t-shirts beta in the ad group bulk tees, we currently have a max bid of 50 cents. And we're recommending a bid of 10 cents. Okay, and why is that? Well, it's based on rule number 3. So we could look back into the rules that we built and figure out what rule 3 was doing. And then we also get the corresponding data. So we see that over the last 7 days, we had 1 conversion, 12 clicks. After 14 days, we had 2 conversions. So you can actually use these numbers to figure out why is it that we're recommending the bids that we are recommending in this case. So that's how that works. And then if you like what's being recommended here, you can do an instant apply. Or you can do a partial apply. So you can say, I'm only going to apply changes in the t-shirts beta campaign. Okay, so I've updated this, so now there's only 128 suggestions. If you figure out that rule 3 maybe wasn't awesome, needs a little bit more work, well, you can exclude that one as well. So let's take that one out of the mix. So now we're down to 92 suggestions, and I can do a partial apply of just the 92 that I've selected here. But kind of the important thing is this allows you to take data from product groups, ad groups, campaigns, the whole account, kind of mix and match that data, mix and match different date ranges, and do some really interesting things that you typically would have done on a spreadsheet. But now because you've codified it in a set of rules like this, it's very repeatable because this is now saved. Next week, when you come back into this account, well, you just load up whichever one of your rules you have, you hit the button to preview it, and you'll get, once again, what are the current bid changes we would make. You can even use this tool to pause and enable product groups, ad groups, etc. All right, let me go back to the questions real quick. Why does it say no change all the way down? Morten, was that about? Yeah, so well, we have some questions too about where do we get this data. So the data is actually just straight up from AdWords. So these are all the AdWords metrics. And actually, so the one question that came up, could we actually use Google Analytics data? And yes, there is a way. You have to ask us for it, but there is a way to connect this to a Google spreadsheet. So if you maintain a spreadsheet with campaign, ad group, keyword, or product group level data, you can actually tell us some additional metrics. And these could be Google Analytics metrics, or these could be metrics from a CRM system that you have, or it could be some secret formula that you've calculated some other way, but you can bring that into the rule engine. And the way that that would look is you would basically, once you connect to the spreadsheet, in addition to all the AdWords metrics that we show, we'll then show you all of the data points that we have from that spreadsheet. And then that can become part of the if condition, or it can become part of the then statement, which actually goes and makes changes. And then as far as the no change, so I'm not sure on what page that was, but usually if there's no change, then it would just be, yeah, actually, I don't know what you were talking about, Morten, so if you can clarify on that, I'll try to answer that question for you. Anyway, so that's the rule engine. And by the way, the rule engine, again, is nice because even if you are using automated bids from Google, in that case, the new maximum CPC will actually say not applicable. That tells you it's not something we can change because it's automatically being handled by Google. But if it shows up on this list, now maybe you have an understanding that Google is missing some opportunities. Maybe where the data is a bit more sparse, they're not capturing exactly what should be done. And so you could make a decision based on that to let Google handle some of your campaigns, but perhaps other campaigns you want to manually manage through a tool like this. And of course, manual management, very time consuming. And the point of these tools is to make it a little bit more scalable and a bit more efficient. Yeah, so when I run the rule, it says no change. Oh, these, okay, so no change. Yeah, actually, it looks like there's an ad group in here that somebody's called no change. So, oh, so sorry, it's the ad group status, no change. Yeah, sorry. So because this tool can also change the ad group from enabled to paused, that's what that means. It says it'll just leave it in its current state, whether it's paused or enabled. So that's what that is. So let me go to the shopping attribute bidder. So this is the most powerful tool that we have. This is brand new, and this is really going to act on the grip structure. So let me explain how this one works. Let me grab one of these campaigns. Hopefully I pick a good one. So remember that question that I was asking, well, what size shoe is selling the best? That's not something you might commonly have insight into. Now, with the shopping attribute bidder tool, which you can find right here, you can select a campaign and we can do that analysis for you. So you can tell us which attribute to look at. Now, this is interesting too, because these attributes actually go beyond what you can get into in AdWords reporting itself. So sale price or actual price, these are dimensions of the products that we look at. We'll evaluate these. Also the color of the product. That's not something Google looks at for structuring things, but we can tell you, okay, do red things versus blue things convert better? So let me ask a simple question. Let me say, what does the brand data look like? So now we're pulling the data by combining the Merchant Center feed with the data from AdWords. And this is what we come back with. Now, this is biddable products. If you're not using the grip structure, then you want to set this to showing all products, okay? And so the key here is that we show you the data for each of the different brands. So we show you that there's 679 Adidas products, and these are the aggregate stats for them, but there's no bid change you can do. And so now this tool works for everyone. You can get the insight no matter how you've structured your account. But the cool thing here is if you structured your account using the grip structure, so one product in each individual product group, then you can switch this over to biddable products. Okay, and now we do that same analysis, but next to the analysis, we show you the ability to make a bid change. So for Adidas, now there's 430. I noticed that number is different than what we had before, and that's because some Adidas products are not in individual product groups. Okay, so we can only act on the 430 that you've put in their own product group. These are the stats for that, and these are the bid ranges. Okay, so between 15 and 31 cents. So if I click on this now, it's going to show me the different bids that I have. So I've got one that's bid at 31 cents, one at 23 cents, and then 428 bidding 15 cents. From here, based on this insight now that Adidas has a really amazing return on ad spend, I can raise all of these bids by some percentage. Let's take a look through this list. So we see here Lacoste has 269 products, not quite as profitable for us. So, you know, maybe this actually warrants a bid reduction. So now I can go and reduce these bids. Okay, so that's a pretty cool analysis. We've done this based on the brand, but tomorrow we might want to ask the same question, but now about product pricing. So I think in this account we've got it put into custom attribute 0. So let's look at what happens when we look at prices. So we're looking at custom attribute price. So these are the price ranges that they put products into. And these are the return on ad spends. And these are the current bids. So again, now we can see, turns out that expensive products between $500 and $1,000, of which we have 167 of them, have a really amazing return on ad spend. So maybe we should go and raise these bids. Boom, we can go and raise the bids. However, something like cheap products, $0 to $25, ROAS is kind of low. It's only 202%. So we open this up and we reduce all of these bids. Or what about if we wanted to combine the price with the brand? Well, you're not limited to just one level of asking the question. So now we're combining these two attributes, and we're going to show you the data for these. And now we can see products between $0 and $25 for Adidas actually have a 277% ROAS. That's better than the 202% for all products between 0 and 25. So now we can go and do a different thing for these versus something else. So a very cool way to really ask any question you could imagine about how your products are performing and actually go and take action on it. This would be incredibly difficult to do through the AdWords interface. It would take you a lot of time. And here we've done it in a way that you can literally get an insight in 15 seconds and go and make some changes based on that. So this is pretty advanced stuff. Not a lot of people are doing this yet because it is traditionally very, very difficult. But this concept is not new. It's been talked about for probably about a year and a half. And so if you have the technology to implement this, it can be really, really successful. So the good news is that anyone who's an Optmyzr customer today can actually get access to this for all of their shopping campaigns. So definitely go ahead and give that one a try. So the last thing that I want to show you before we wrap up here is the bid modification. So this is not specific to shopping ads, but I want to show you geo and device bid adjustments, which runs across any type of campaign. You could, of course, come in here and you could select all of the campaigns that are shopping campaigns because they may behave a little bit differently than your keyword or your display or your YouTube campaigns. So you can do that through here. But here we've run the data for the whole account, and I've already loaded it up to be regional level data. But we can go all the way down to the postal code. We can also ask the same question for devices. But let me show you the example based on regional data. So what this screen shows you is for each of the regions, which in the United States happens to be states. For Alaska, we have 9 campaigns accruing data, and these are the stats for all of Alaska. I'm based in California, so let me look at the 21 campaigns in California. So each of the campaigns in California has these stats, and then there's the aggregate level. Now you can see the geographic bid adjustment that's currently being set. We make it very easy to act on that. Okay, so you can say set my bid. So I have a return on ad spend goal, conversion value divided by cost, and that return on ad spend needs to be 200%. So I type in that value, and then I'm going to change all of my allowed bid changes to be more aggressive. And I've updated this, and now you see the new bid suggestions. So for the BetSheets campaign in the state of California, if I want to hit a 200% return on ad spend, I need to bid down 85%. That is based on the fact that currently my conversion value divided by cost, ROAS, is only 74%. So it's significantly below where it needs to be. Here, on the other hand, we have a campaign that's delivering a 469% return on ad spend. Now, we're still setting a negative bid because it's already got a minus 90% bid, but we're actually going to increase it. So we're going to be less aggressive and reduce it a little bit from where it was before, because you can probably get more traffic if you don't bid down so aggressively. So a very quick way, in this case, you can see we've done 849 calculations to help you set better geo bid adjustments. Now, if you're really paying attention, you might notice this is based off of one conversion data point. So I'm not really comfortable using one conversion over the last 30 days to make a bid change. So let me go and make a custom filter. So maybe I say I want to have at least 3 conversions before I apply some change. So notice it's 849 suggestions here. I apply this filter, and now we're down to 332 suggestions. In fact, in the state of California, it's now down to 10 campaigns that had at least 3 conversion data points. So maybe now I'm comfortable actually pushing these changes through. And then the final thing, if I said, well, for all of those 11 other campaigns in California, why don't we use the California level insight? Check this box, update this, and those 11 campaigns will come right back on the screen. But now notice that in California, we recommend a 2% bid increase. And any of these campaigns, like Blazers, that didn't have enough conversion data points, has just inherited the California level data. So this, again, is a very sophisticated way to use very specific data when you have it, but use more aggregate data when you don't. So these are some bid changes. Would be very difficult to set through AdWords, but we've made it super easy, and you can do this for device types. You can do it for regional data, and like I said, you can do it all the way down to the postal code. So there's probably not that many postal codes where you're getting enough conversions, but the filter will just get rid of that, right? So maybe the city of New York, the city of San Francisco, Chicago, all of those may have enough data. So let's set really specific bid adjustments for those to fully capture that potential. And then for other places like Palo Alto, which doesn't have as many people,